I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Hey, this is Matt once again. We're about to another review. This is for Grade B. Thank you so much for the requests on your Patreon and PayPal requests, if I learn how to talk. Really appreciate that. I appreciate everyone who has done that. If you're interested in joining my Patreon where certain tiers get you certain things, you do that, and the Patreon link will be down below. Or if you want to request directly via PayPal, which would be pretty much anything, a review, re-review, movie topic commentary, pretty much any type of video, feel free as well. The link to that would be down below as well in the info box. But what he wanted me to talk about today is the documentary Hoop Dreams from 1994. Now this is a film, well, documentary I had heard of for a long time. Because back in the day I would watch Siskel and Ebert. Because we didn't have cable or anything. We only had a couple channels, and one of them from the time would have Siskel and Ebert. I remember they were really huge fans of this. Hoop Dreams was heavily praised. I know Roger Ebert called it one of the best films of any kind in the 90s, and I did not realize this was 3 hours long. Like, this is a 3-hour long documentary. I don't think it needed to be 3 hours long. It's a little bit drawn out, especially in the middle, the second half. But this is a really good documentary. You know, even if you're not into basketball, even if you're not into, it's a good documentary. It's about these two guys, these two kids at the time, William Gates and Arthur Adi. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. William Gates and Arthur. They're two African-American teenagers who are recruited from a scout and put into the St. Joseph High School in Illinois to try to get them into the basketball program. And the alumni of that school is people like Isaiah Thomas, who, of course, he got into the NBA. It pretty much just shows, I think the documentary was filmed in like a 5-year span, give or take, where they follow these kids through school, freshman, sophomore, up until they graduate. And it was interesting to see how their lives changed, the ups and downs, and quite a few downs, and in a way face reality in the fact that this doesn't have the... It ends on a nice note, but at the same time, knowing that neither of these guys got into the NBA, I wouldn't say it's depressing. That's not the word to look for. It's kind of stupid to say realistic. It's a documentary. Of course it is. It's a documentary, but in a way it does become a movie in a strange way, where you get to know these people, these characters, so to speak, and how one is able to stick with the St. Joseph High School and the other pretty much has to go back into his older, poorer school. and how they're kind of diverging. But then in a weird way, by the end of this 4 or 5 year span, they're trying to go in a different way. Like the kid who was doing well stay in that school, and then the kid that seemed like wasn't going to do well. Then by the near the end, the one kid is kind of being more and more dismissive or just not caring as much about basketball, and then his final year he doesn't do well, even though he's being scouted, and he's going to get to college and who knows how well he'll do. But then that year doesn't go well. But then the kid who went to school, he's doing well and he's winning games, and he ends on a great note for him. And it was interesting. It does go more into, as you watch events unfold, how poor neighborhoods are dealing with things in Chicago and Illinois, how certain families have to live, and how things are not going well, and the economy and the structure and the class, and how sometimes they're looked down upon, how certain institutions, you wonder if they're being screwed over or not, or they're screwing these people over or not. Even the family, like his mom lost the job, his dad leaves the family and got into crack cocaine, and then comes back and found religion. The other, he's talking about how everybody wants to be my coach, even my brother, who he was doing well, but he was found to be uncoachable, and now he's trying to view himself through me, and how that guy, he's dealing with injuries that really hurt him, and then the other is dealing with his family losing at one point electricity, and trying to deal with again the issues of family, like his father who got into drugs, and his father overcome crack cocaine, while the other guy, his knee gets screwed up. You do have a little brief appearance by Spike Lee, because I guess he was talking to classes. It's funny because he goes, realize they don't care about you. These guys in the basketball, it's for you to make the team win, because if they win, they get money. Of course, this is a guy that's in front of every fucking New York Knicks game and did basketball commercials with Michael Jordan. It must be the shoes. So, I'm not a fan of Spike Lee. I think he's a fucking dweeb, overrated director. That the best film he did was the one that didn't have all his stupid bullshit commentary, and that was... Well, it's not bullshit commentary. It's just the way he does it. I liked Inside Man with Denzel Washington, but I just not a fan of his... Not a fan of him in interviews, not a fan of him and as a director. Oh, just his demeanor, the way he speaks in interviews, the way he films. Again, sometimes he seems like he's a two-faced prick. Like, they don't care about you. It's for you to make the team because they want money. I'm like, you're the one doing fucking basketball commercials for sneakers. And out there in the NBA, New York Knicks, every time, first fucking time, yelling at players, talking trash to them. Everyone's two-faced. Me, you, everybody. At least we know it. But Spike Lee doesn't know it. Me, you, we know that everyone has a two-faced side. Because you like something, but you hate something. Anyway. I know one of the films Grade B wants to be reviewed is a Spike Lee movie. So that'll be fun. Funny enough, a movie he directed that deals with basketball. He got Game, which I'm sorry I didn't care for. I know that's going to be a very polarizing review because people love the film. Oh well, I don't like Spike Lee. But anyway, this is a documentary that, like I said, I don't think it need to be 3 hours long. I think it is a bit drawn out. But at the same time, the journey that I was following, it made me go, what's going to happen next? Like a movie. Are these guys going to make it? Sadly, this is 1994. They never did. They never did. And then it's weird looking back. I believe the one guy, his brother died. And then the other guy who was in crack cocaine and found religion, he died years and years later because of the neighborhood, how violent it is. Like it's not in the documentary, but years later, the father of Arthur, his father died because of a burglar or something of that nature. And then the other guy, William, his brother died because someone was like chasing him. This is like years later. So it shows how violent this neighborhood is. I mean, even in the movie, a week before graduation, Arthur talks about how he was robbed at gunpoint and how he just can't wait to get out of here. So sobering, I think, is the word I'm looking for. It's a sobering look at reality, the way the poor has to deal with events and circumstances, even though they want to keep their dreams alive, but facing the reality and hardship, which, granted, not really something that people want to look at nowadays with what's going on, but it is a well-made documentary. I can understand why it was praised so much, where you really go on a journey with these two characters, their ups and downs, and quite a few downs, but there's some ups along the way, like them getting into college. Hell, they both become fathers. Actually, well, William becomes a father during it. I think it's after the documentary, from title text, you find out Arthur became a father as well. I'm surprised they haven't done a documentary nowadays showing, like, when the 25th anniversary of this came out. I'm surprised they didn't do a second documentary from showcasing from then to now. But hey, what do I know? Because this is a documentary I've heard plenty of times throughout the years. So it's one of those things that's a bit weird to review a documentary, because what am I going to talk about? The character development? The dialogue? I mean, it's a documentary. But again, it does showcase these two, that because of their environment, that maybe they're not as disciplined in education as they should have been, which if they were, maybe would have helped them out a lot more. But at the same time, a lot of people in that situation were going through that. And I did grow to like these guys to the point, I felt bad when the guy hurt his knee. And then he has this coach that seems like he's just trying to push him because he wants the new Isaiah Thomas from the Detroit Pistons. It's like, maybe this could be the new one. That's what you get, the vibe you get of this coach. And in a way, you start to dislike this coach, because even though this guy seems like always dogging on the William Gates. And then even with the other guy, Arthur, at the beginning, this father seems like a good guy, and then the fact that he left the family, and then crack cocaine, and then you hear that he beat up the mom a little bit. And it's just weird, like this guy who you seem like a decent guy who like wants to see his kids succeed, and then you hear this stuff happens, and then throughout the documentary he comes back with the family, and now he's found religion. That stuff does happen, and if you put it in a movie, people are like, fuck that guy. But then when it's reality, that does showcase that a movie and a real life, it could be the same situation. That doesn't mean it's going to have the same result in the viewer. For example, if a person cries and they're crying. If it's a movie, you will laugh at if it's too big of a crying scene. But in a real life, you would not, unless you're just a heartless person. Like if you see someone crying, blubbering in a movie, you'd be like, that's a bit over the top, this and that. But yet, in real life, you feel bad. It's strange how that works with the mind. That you take the same thing, but yet your mind thinks one way or another. I don't know how to describe that, but that is the case. Overall, I would say, I don't want to give everything away. If you like documentaries, even if you like basketball, even if you're not into basketball, if you want to tell a story about hardships of people wanting to overcome to fulfill their dreams, and even though sadly they never got in the NBA, but you can relate to because we've all had those dreams, and it is that reality that's sad to say. Even though you have dreams doesn't mean they're going to succeed. Even doesn't mean it's going to happen. Sorry folks, that's welcome to the real world. But it still doesn't hurt to dream and to have some type of goal to go for. And you see how one succeeds and his team wins, and the other, the William guy, it seemed like he, by the end, just because of the coach and everyone trying to be his coach and the injury of his knee, and then, the final year now working out well for him. And how they could look at you with great eyes one minute, the second minute not care anymore. He kind of seemed like he lost passion for basketball. That's what it seemed like. And like I said, other than it being a bit long and drawn out at 3 hours, it's a good documentary. Again, I can see what the praise was about, and it's well worth a look. I go into deep thoughts like critics have talked about race and class, but okay, those are part of it, a big part of it. But is it an interesting documentary? And to me, it is, because I grew to like these teenagers, and even a guy who never played much of basketball, I can relate to them wanting to achieve their goals and all the hardships that go in their way, and them wanting to get that level. And again, it was interesting to see them grow up in front of your eyes in the span of these 4 or 5 years. That was interesting as well. Get bigger, the ups and downs of their family and their lives. One becomes a father. Like, you realize also a lot can happen in the span of 4 or 5 years. A lot can happen. Which, that is reality. But anyway, thanks for watching. Take care. And we will see you in the next video. Later.